everybody. Welcome back to UniXTCG, and today we're going to dive into another Top Cut profile. This one's going to be featuring a close friend who just got third at a Zenkai Cup with Blue Bojack. This one's going to be a little meatier, but I will have chapters so you can at least differentiate between just talking over the deck list and him going into his rounds. So yeah, thank you guys in advance for watching, and if you want to see more Dragon Ball Super content, make sure you go over and click that like button, the subscribe button, notification button, comment, let us know what you think about these Dash Pack editions as well as Bojack, and yeah, let's get into it. Alrighty then, so here we are with our special guest for today, coming fresh off of a Zenkai Cup top, and yeah, I'm just gonna let him do the rest when it comes to introducing himself.
How's it going, everybody? It's Beer from Team Game 3. I played in the Zenkai Cup yesterday, and I came third place playing Blue Bojack. This was nice enough to have me come on here. I just wanted to show you guys what's it about, the build, and you know what matchups were. And because the deck's very fun, I really feel like a lot of people should really be playing it. But yeah.
I mean, what I have to ask. So going into the treasure, well, I said the treasure cup because you guys already know. One Piece on the line right now. Going into the Zenkai Cup, what made you decide blue? I mean, I think this is going to be obvious for some people, but if you aren't hip with the current format, I want to be able to pick your brain for this one.
So it wasn't. I was actually debating on playing my red U7 list or this. But I was a very, very big fan of Bojack personally. When I first started the game back in set 6, I had played yellow Bojack, and I just loved that whole archetype. But obviously, it was never any good. They released the blue Bojack. It was fun, but you know, Soul Striker just outclassed it when Galactic Buster was for everything. And then you know, every time they make support, I always revisit it. But like this most recent dashback support, like made it feel really, really good to play. I did a bunch of practice with it. I'm like, wait, hold on a second. This is really, really consistent. And I kept playing more and more. I'm like, wait, this is really, really consistent. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take it, see how it plays. What's the worst that can happen, right? And that's why I chose it, honestly. It's just a very fun archetype, and it's my type of playstyle. I'm a very aggressive type of player. I don't succeed playing super defensive. I like being as ham as I can, but obviously this deck has a balance between both, but it lets you do that.
Excellent, excellent. So yeah, let's hop into your deck list.
Sure, sounds good. So obviously we all know what the leader, it's the blue Bojack leader. And for those of you who don't know how it works, I'll go very quickly. Basically, the 1 mana 5k and 10k combos in your hand of Bojack Brigade are free. Activate battle once per turn on both sides. You can combo from your energy a Bojack Brigade, then you replace that card by putting the top card of your deck into your energy and rest mode. And then his Awaken condition, if you have the 4-cost blue Unison, or you're at 3 life, you draw 2 untap 1. And then it's the same thing on the Awaken side, except you have an auto, and this is the very important part. And what makes or breaks this deck is basically auto once per turn, so you have to do this on your opponent's first swing, or you miss the opportunity later. You pay 1 blue, you discard a card, and basically you can't activate counter skills from your hand for the turn. And if you activate any card skills from your hand, it has to be blue card skills. That's all part of the cost to make it so you can untap up to 4 mana, up to 4 energy in mono blue. So that's the leader, right? And then in terms of like the Z deck, I'll go through it very quickly just to make things easier. Cell is probably the one. Yesterday I actually used Cell the least. Like it did not actually come up once where I needed to use it, but there are matchups where you can't afford to use your ramp, which I'll get into in a second. And this is basically your plan B. If there's decks where you can't ramp against, and they're playing like hard early aggression, you know, like Pan or Turles or AOD, stuff like that, you need some way to just be able to clear their board. And it's like, you know what, if all it takes for me to survive is to tap 3, play this guy, absorb their board, and potentially even push 4 crit damage, why not? You can't go wrong with it. And it's basically your emergency button. I run Vegeta as a one of. He honestly is a emergency. I want to say he's like your third win condition, I would say. But I'll be honest with you, yesterday he saved me 2 games. By himself, I was able to win 2 whole matches. So it's always valuable. I always just keep him as a one of. I think he's perfect as a one of. You know, when you need it, he's there. When you don't, who cares, right? Mm-hmm. And then the Beer Z card, This card is absolutely broken. I'm running him at 2 copies for now. I think that's the right ratio for now. But this card is just broken. I've won too many matches playing this. It's really hard for your opponents to deal with. They don't have the counterplay. And you don't always have to do 3 attacks with it. You can do like the first swing, and then you can do the activate main to get rid of something, swing one more time, and just leave him in active mode and not do the 3rd swing if you don't want your opponent to just kill it.
Yeah.
So Beers has always been super clutch. And then, of course, the reason the deck is now playable again is Zangia. So Zangia, when she comes into play, she puts a Bojack Brigade from your hand into your energy and rest mode, and then she has another ability where you can KO her when you play a Bojack card to give that Bojack card barrier until the end of your opponent's next turn. So if you play this, if you play the Bojack on your opponent's turn and use the auto, your Bojack has barrier on your opponent's current turn, your turn, and then your opponent's next turn. So you have 3 turns where whatever Bojack you gave barrier is just like it's got protection. So very, very important. And I do run it 2 copies. I can see people making the argument to go 3 copies, but it's just like I really don't want to cut down on cells, and I would never want to cut the Vegito entirely. And Beerus is just too good. So I feel like 2 is the sweet spot. But if the meta changes, people start mainboarding more counterplays, you may just want to run 3. In all honesty. And then of course the Majin Buu. This is your awakened condition. The card, obviously we all know Majin Buu is just broken. The big thing here though is the fact that on your turn 3 you're going to be able to awaken with your leader if you get your ramp off, which I was able to do for almost all my games yesterday except for 1. Yeah, and basically there's a little trick that I do as well, because when you do awaken, right, because you're going to do your swing with your leader, you're going to activate battle, you're going to combo Bojack from your energy, and then you're swinging for like 15, then you awaken, you're already at 20k, and then you can do the activate battle again to push for 25 with your leader, or you could always just swing with Boo, and then activate battle on the leader front side, then awaken, activate battle again to push for like a 30k double, and then you'll have 1 open, and then it's your choice whether you use that 1 open to play something or to hold it for defense, because then on your opponent's turn you have 2 energy, and I'll get into why that's very, very important afterwards. But a lot of the times what I will do is I will actually not play something because I have a very strong line of play on my opponent's turn if I have 2 open. But otherwise, if you don't have that card, which I'll get into after, I would then just push for the aggression route instead and just start spamming out more cards to just beat your opponent down. So Boo is broken. I mean, I think this card should be banned, honestly. It's broken. There's nothing else to it. Gokua Cunning Slayer. This is one of the dash pack cards as well. This one I only run him as a 1-of. He's okay. I used to run him at 2 copies, but like, to me, he's just a 1-mana 20k beat stick. His like main benefit though is if you do play him, you can send one of your energy to the grave to put a Bojack Brigade from your hand into your energy and rest mode, then your opponent bottom decks 1 in hand. That does sometimes help. It does sometimes help with taxing your opponent. The main benefit, honestly, is if you're in a situation where every time you've done your activate battle and you replace a top card and it's not a Bojack Brigade, it's not a Bojack Brigade, or you've used like multiple Galactic Busters and it's just like your energy is just clogged with stuff that you can't combo from, you can fix it. That's the real benefit of it. And like, I guess if you want to be somebody risky and run like draw apes in the deck, it makes it where if you accidentally put a draw ape in your energy, you can just play this and put the draw ape in the grave, which is nice. But I personally don't want to take that chance, period, because Boo costs 4 energy, and I never want to be in a situation where, I can't awaken on my turn 3 with Boo because I want it to be greedy with draw apes. So that's why I don't run the apes, but if you do run apes, I would probably suggest going 3 to 4 copies of this, because you don't want to run into that situation. Otherwise, you're just gonna fall flat on your face, in all honesty. The next card, this is more like the ideal turn 1 opening hands. I'm gonna go through both together actually, but basically when I open my hand, I want to have this, and this in my hand. I want Gokua the Calamity in my hand, 1 copy of Zangia the Evildoer, and at least 1 Boo in my opening. And if that's in my hand, life is good, because then when you play the Gokua, he'll top 5 search for either another Boo, or he'll search for any of the 3 or less Bojack Brigades. So he searches for your archetype, and you can pay 1 on the activate battle to make him get plus 11k crit until the start of your next main phase. So sometimes you can use him as a mana sink just to push for more damage and pressure your opponent. Usually what I'll do is I'll play him on turn 1 and charging her, and then I pass to my opponent, And then when they do their first swing, I'll do the activate battle on Zangia, because when she's comboed from your energy or comboed from field, you get to draw one. So they do their first swing, I'll combo it, I'll draw a card, and I'll Z charge. And if they try to play aggro on me, they do their second swing, I'll combo this guy too. There's no harm in it. I out combo that swing and I Z charge, and I have 2 Z energy right away going into my turn 2. And then from there, on your turn 2, of course, you play the Zangia and you ramp, and you just have to defend your opponent. You just have to survive your opponent's turn 2, and then you're pretty much stabilized. So that's where like those two go, in my opinion, is this, and this for your opening hand. But at worst, if you can't see Boo, if you have at least these two in your opening hand, you're in a good spot, in all seriousness. Beto the Evildoer, I only run it 2 copies. He comes up sometimes. He's not like the strongest card because he has unique, and it really makes things sometimes awkward because the deck is one where you spam a lot. But the main benefit of him is he's an extra beat stick, and when he's played on your opponent's turn, he lets you untap one, because when you combo him, you pay 1, he comes into play at the end of the battle, and then his auto will trigger and untap 1, and then he also has an activate main where you can pay 1 to bottom deck a 3 or less on your opponent's board. It can be useful, and I mean, a 15k crit swing is a 15k crit swing. It's nothing to scoff at, especially when you can activate battle and make it a 20 or 25k swing. But he's not the most essential piece. He's just more there for the sake of the consistency of numbers. And then the next one would be Goku the Evildoer. Him, in all honesty, he's kind of like the other Goku. He's just a 1-mana 20k beat stick, but his ability after you combo him and you pay 1 to play him is he can bottom deck a 1 or less. I don't know why they said or less, but he can bottom deck a 1-drop on your opponent's board. Sometimes that matters, especially now with Black getting the Boo Z card. When they play that Boo Z card, let's say they play something else and they swing with something else and they have the Boo Z card on board, you can just combo play this guy and bottom deck the Boo Z card, which removes him from game. And now there's a 25k you don't have to worry about. And you get a 20k beat stick out for 1. So he has his uses. I like being able to remove my opponent's cards, so I value him more than this guy, but you could go either way, in all honesty. The 20k for 1 is a 20k for 1. And then the one that really stresses my opponents out always, of course, is the legendary Bojack the Evildoer, with a nice fast start, of course. For him, they all come out kind of the same way. You combo him, but you pay 2 to play him. He's a dual attacker, and on play, he bottom decks any card on any battle card on your opponent's board. This is honestly won me so many games. There was one of my matchups, my opponent had played like the dual attack Revenge 16. Like he was like gonna arrival it, and I had this in my combo area already. He was trying to combo on defense, and then he played it, and I'm like, all right, I paid to play this, bottom deck it, and that's it. He couldn't abuse the Revenge, so he wasn't able to like clear my board as much as he wanted. So like this card, it's absolutely broken. It lets you like push really strong game states, especially late game. If you're able to establish 2 or 3 of these, like your opponent is gonna have a hard time, because that's the biggest thing with his deck is almost everything except for Beto are 20Ks. So 20K is a lot to ask for your opponent to out combo, because even if they bean, they're still gonna rip at least another card. So it does get pretty tough. And then the biggest, strongest card out of the dash packs, other than the ability to ramp, is of course the Space Pirate Captain Bojack. This card is absolutely broken, and yeah, like, so he comes out for 1 blue after you combo him, and he's a 20k double striker for 1. That's already ridiculously strong. That's basically the Goku Black card from the anniversary box. Same cost, right? Obviously Goku Black draws you card removes, but he has a really, really strong auto, limit 1, and you have to do this on the first attack your opponent does, basically. It gives you another instance of your leader's activate battle. So you get the combo Bojack Brigade from your energy, but instead it puts that card in active mode, not in rest mode, which is really, really strong. And I'll be honest, I actually made a complete mistake. Like, before the Zenkai Cup yesterday, I actually was playing this card as if it put the top card in rest mode, so I was playing this deck the whole time for over a month straight nerfed, like nerfing myself when that's not even the case. You're supposed to put in active, not rest. And like, this just gives you so many broken lines of play, because what happens is on your opponent's turn, when they're trying to go for their first swing at you, right? Mm-hmm. You can do a negate attack and do some sort of floodgate, and then you can use this guy's auto to combo one of your Bojack brigades, such as the Evildoer, and then the top card comes in active mode, and then you can go ahead and pay the 1 for your leader auto to untap the 4, and now you already have this in your combo area, and then you can just pay the 2 to play him, and you still have the other 2 open. And like, your opponent's just like, wait, you just removed one of my cards, you floodgated me, and Now I got to deal with another 20k dual attacker. Yup. So this just gives you a lot of extra pressure, and it's honestly broken. And 20k double strike, like it's just good value. And then the last card for like the Bojack Brigade cards, of course, is the 8-drop SR. It's absolutely broken. It does a lot of good stuff. I mean, it's a 10k combo for free in your hand, and he is a 30k double strike dual attacker. And with Zangia, you can make him a barrier 30k double strike dual attacker. And his auto, when you combo him, you pay 4 energy, you draw 1, you bottom deck one of your opponent's cards, then you play this guy in rest mode. And when he's in rest mode as well, auto once per turn, when your opponent swings with a battle card, so basically the first thing they do with a battle card, you get to untap an energy, and you get to tap one of your opponent's energy. And this is like absolutely detrimental, especially to yellow decks. I found it very, very effective against Trunks Vegeta. If you like do this on like their second last swing, and you play this guy out, because now they basically are stuck in a situation where, like, let's say they wanted to like do a big massive swing at you, because you know how yellow decks work. They always pass with 1 open, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now when you put this on them and they're like, oh, I was gonna push for game, and you're like, no, I'm gonna bottom deck that 1 thread, and yeah, if you wanna go ahead and pass with 1 open, it's not gonna happen. You're gonna tap out. So do you want to really play your you want to do that last swing or no? So it reduces the pressure they can do to you. And if they want to play the game of chicken with you, you welcome it. Who cares? You'll be able to survive, in all honesty, and then you punish them on the next turn because they tapped out. And if they don't want to play the game of chicken, that's fine too. They're not pressuring you as hard, and you got all these 20k dual attackers and 20k double strikers, and you got a 30k double strike dual attacker. It's very, very tough to deal with, in all honesty, if your opponent's not able to control this board effectively. And then, of course, Galactic Buster. This card is very strong. I only run it 3 copies because you could make the argument to go forward, but the issue with Galactic Buster is, of course, you choose the Bojack Brigade, you replace it, you can only use this as a limit 1, basically. And then what happens is now you have an extra card in your energy, and then let's say you used another one. Now you have another extra card in your energy. Now you're not comboing. There's 2 cards you can't combo from your energy. And then let's say you activate battle. Oh, look, the 3rd copy or 4th copy went into my energy off of RNG. Now you have like 3 bricks in your energy that you can't use, and the only way to pick them up was with Zeno Super Combo. So it's a card you want to see at least once to twice in a game, but it's not a card you want to see 3 or 4 times. It's going to make you miserable. And that he's also part of the reason why I still run at least 1 copy of the Goku from the dash pack, just so I can send one to the grave, because I don't need dead cards. We don't need that stuff. The other added bonus too is like it replaces itself in your energy when you combo the Bojack Brave, it's on your opponent's turn. But when you're trying to go for that late game push, that final oomph, using this just to get a draw and combo any Bojack in your energy on your turn, even if you don't replace the energy, who cares? If that's all you need to win, that's all you need to win, because that can sometimes net you like a 10k combo or 15k combo, because it's going to combo Bojack Brigade, then it's going to draw you one, drawing you like potentially another combo card. So a very, very strong card. And then obviously 3 Sensu Beans. I mean, I think there's not much explanation needed for that. Sensu Bean is broken. It got errated and it's still broken. It lets you extend plays like ridiculously. And in this deck, like, you're really, really good at extending plays, because you're going to have 4 to 5 open energy on your opponent's turn always, and it's going to be very, very tough for them to respond in kind. So Bean is Bean, enough said there. I am running 2 copies of Desperate Measures, and the reason I'm doing this is because there's going to be more, I'm predicting personally that there's going to be more popular ramp decks coming. So I know more people are going to start playing Bojack potentially, because this deck is fantastic. But I also do predict that more and more blue beers is going to pop up. And if you're going first against either of those matchups, being able to hold that 1 energy to just counterplay their Zangia or their 2-cost Wii Z cards and prevent it from hitting the board can honestly just straight up win the matchup sometimes. But but there is technically another option you could go for if you're on curve, if you're going first, which is the counterplay, the one that has the picture of Gohan on it. I forgot its name. The one from Fighter's Ambition, where if you have a Z card, it's played for free and it bottom decks at 3 or less, but you need a Z card on board, which Zangia is a barrier, so it's not that hard of a requirement, but it's only good going first against those decks. This is better going second against those decks. So that's why Desperate Measures is very, very good. I wish I could make room for more, in all honesty, because those matchups sometimes get tough, but it is what it is. And then I have my Negate package, very, very small. We run 2 copies of Boujack the Commando. You can combo from energy. You can also uses negate attack from your energy by discarding a card in hand and still paying the energy cost. Then he replaces the top card of your deck. So he gets around your leader's self-imposed floodgate because it only prevents you from using counters from your hand, not it doesn't specify your energy or anywhere else. So this saved me like at least 3 matches yesterday. This card came in clutch. So I will say Boujack the Commando, extremely broken. 2 copies feels fine. If you run it, if you're like really worried, you could go 3 copies, I guess. But I found it fine at 2 copies. Usually you're gonna resolve it maybe once in a game. If you're lucky, you resolve it twice. Cool, right? And then the other big floodgate is the Android 17 Defending Friends. This card is absolutely broken. I'm pretty sure everybody's been hit by this when they're friends of their locals, whatever. But the reason it's so effective in this deck is Zangia is a Z card that has barrier. Never swing with her. You just sit her there in active mode, and you will always be able to floodgate your opponent. When I mentioned that on your awaken turn, you can awaken and leave 1 open, and then when you pass your opponent, your Boo will untap itself and untap another energy. You now have 2 open energy. So when your opponent does their first attack for turn, you hard negate with the Android 17, and then you floodgate them with it. Because it checks if you have a Z leader, 3 Z energy, which is not hard in this deck, or a Z card on board. So now, on your opponent's turn 3, you've hard floodgated them, and then you still then proceed to pay the next other blue energy that you had open for your leader's auto to discard 1 and untap 4. And then now, like, your opponent's in this very tough position where they can just pass, and that's fine by you, you don't care. Or, if they try to start attacking you, they now have to pay the tax. They got a bottom deck a card in hand each time, which is just going to net you more value, because half your deck already removes all the cards on their board anyways. So if they're going to start whittling down their other resources in hand to you, you're just going to win. So this is an insanely broken negate. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't believe they printed this thing. This is insane floodgate. However, something I would say too is depending on how metas go and all that, you could even consider, I'm not saying you should, but you could consider Heroic Prospect as well. He pretty much does the same thing, but slightly better floodgate depending on what you're facing. So if you're facing something that cheats out big bodies early, like for example, that yellow Boo deck that's coming out next set, that might not be a bad idea to run those instead of this, because they got a bottom deck, I think it's 2 cards each time instead of 1. And there's no way, like none of their Boos really are 2 costs. Like most of them are 4 and 6 and 8 and all that. So depending on what you face, you could consider Prospect instead. But overall, this is just generically good. And I've had people try to take the challenge and take the tax and they lose. And I've had people where like I play this and they just say, you know what, I'm passing turn with 5 open. And I say, no problem, man, that's a-okay. And then the last negate attack that I run is all too easy. This is a negate attack where you basically can only use it once per turn. Like it's kind of like a limit 1 negate, but you can also activate it from your grave. So usually the trick is when you're using your leader auto to discard a card, you just discard him. He's like a 1 of, you just discard him and now you don't really lose value because you have a negate you can use in your grave, and he does bounce at 1 cost as well. This legitimately, my final round was against AOD, going second. It was extremely tough, and I actually used this as the hard negate in hand 1 turn, and then on the next turn I used the grave negate of it, and I was able to negate the attack, and I bounced his 1 cost Boo, and like this card and the Boujack the Commando together legitimately saved me that match. I'm not even gonna lie, like this card to me is like an MVP, even though it's a 1 of, and I can understand people not even running it, but this card is like this is the good stuff, honestly. And then that's the negate package. And then we have your standard blue good cards. The Gohan SGR, I'm running at 2 copies. I think it's fine at 2 because you do want to play your other Bojack Brigade stuff, but you could go 3 copies. It's honestly broken. There's nothing more to say about this card. The beautiful thing too is because your leader will always untap 4 energy, if you know you're facing one of those decks where they just go tall, you'll always have 3 open. You could still have 4 open. You'll always be able to play this guy out and just be like, yeah, bottom deck or boss monster, have a good day, sir. Like you don't care. So this card, insanely powerful, insanely broken. You know, it's 2 to 3. It's up to you on that one. I'm running 2. It's fine. Goku Black is also insanely strong. You need 3 Z energy, of course. You pay 1. You play a draw 1, bottom deck 4 less. We all know how this works. I'll be honest though, Goku Black is probably one of the least used cards in this deck though. if I was to consider cutting stuff to make room for other stuff, this would probably be at the top of the list because I've used it the least. I legitimately used it 0 times yesterday, but like in my practice, I've used it like maybe 10 to 15 games out of like 55 games. So like it's not the most important piece, but when it's good, it's good. So I don't know, it's your call. If you like it, keep it. If you don't, change it for something else. You got options. There's all this other stuff that gets played too, right? But it is valuable. And then 2 copies of the SS4 Vegeta. This card is broken and I feel like should be banned, not just for this deck, but for other decks. It's completely uninteractable nowadays. Only like, I think yellow with like Death Blaster or Cold Bloodlust is like the only thing that can like effectively stop this card. So, and like, yeah, this card is not fair. This lets you extend your game state ridiculously. I'm personally just trying it out like right now. I've only recently added it to the list, but it feels very good. It's a 5k combo, and it lets you do some really dumb stuff with your win conditions that I'll get into in a second. But being able to just play this because you ramp, play this out at 6 energy, and there's like, you know what, I'm going from 6 to 10, and you don't care about putting those cards in your energy because you combo from your energy. So it just makes your game state broken, or it lets you go into your SCR, like you can use it, then you can pay the 2 for your SCR, then untap everything and just like win. It's insanely broken. I really do think this card should be banned. It's not fair what this does. It's very, very strong. Mr. Go Off King. And then of course the super combo is Zeno. I can't justify any other super combo. This is just way too important. Because of the RNG involved with the activate battle on your leader, putting the top card in, you're gonna run into situations with your secret rares in there, your counters in there, your floodgates in there. Being able to pick up one of your key cards and putting it back to your hand and putting a Bojack Brigade into your energy is too important. I can't stress it enough. I cannot justify going any other split. I could not even a 3-1 of like Vegeta in this or anything like that. This card is way too good in this deck, especially like I said on your turn 2. When you ramp and you pass your opponent, if you're going first there on their turn 2, they'll be able to potentially push you to 5 life, and that's fine. They push you to 5 because then you can use this. And if they keep trying to aggro you down, now you can use this for the defense. Pick this up, use this, pick something up, use a Sense of Being, then use your then play like a Bojack the Evil Doer, bottom deck their next threat, and that's it. Their turn 2's done, and now you have a 20k dual attacker. You're gonna play your Boo on your next turn and all that other fun stuff, right? So this helps a lot, especially against aggro. Because against aggro decks, you're not going to be able to ramp. It's too risky to ramp because you're tapping out basically and telling the aggro deck, yeah, you can go ahead and beat, you can beat my head in. It's like you can't let your opponent do that. So this lets you survive. So I cannot stress it enough. Zeno is always going to stay at a 4-up for me personally.
Blue
and then we go one counter ape.
Out.
You never tap out. It's too broken.
Even when you're tapped out, you're not tapped out.
Exactly. It's like, oh, my Sense of Beings and my energy, let me pick that up real quick. Like, what? No, it's too good. Counter ape. Of everything here, this is probably the least used card. I can't justify cutting it, but I really want to cut it for something else. I want to put a Kale in here instead, but it's counter ape. It's Golden Avenger, like you can't go wrong with having even a 1 of it. It's Golden Avenger, you gotta have it. And especially like, something that struck to my mind too is like, remember how I mentioned the Vegeta, there's no real way to deal with him. This technically bounces 7 on the counterplay. He does balance a 7 or less back to the owner's hand. So he technically, this is crazy and I would never do it, but I mean, sometimes you have no choice. You could leave 5 open, they play their Vegeta and you're like, yeah, pay 5, bounce it to your hand and bottom deck something else. Like, that's not optimal, but hey, even worst case scenario, it does something there. But yeah, I don't know. I want to cut it, but I can't. It's Golden Ape,
You want to cut it, but the games that Golden Ape wins, you're just like, geez. Like, exactly. Never again. Like, and it also feels so bad. Like, when you're playing against blue, and you're like, you have to throw that Hail Mary, like this play walks, and you turn the tide, or maybe even win, or it's about to get out of your hands for the rest of the game, and then you play, and they just tap 5, you just like, it's just a single tear just rolls down your face. Yep. As they hit a triple stroke 30k onto the board.
Bottom deck something, ignoring berry draw. Like, what? Sure, why not? This card's really good, but it's not very good in this deck. But its effect is too good. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
But you thought you were in trouble before.
Literally. And then my win condition. This is, I'm not gonna lie to you, I used this combo, Turn the Tide and the Goku SCR, almost every game yesterday. And I'm not gonna lie to you, and I loved all my opponents. Respect to all of them, but like at least 3 of them were really, really, really angry that I used Turn the Tide on them. They're like, "Oh my God, that card needs to be banned. It's unfair." And I'm like, you know what? I agree. This card needs to be banned, but until they ban it, I'm gonna keep using it. So I apologize, but I got to win.
that card is. It is surprising how many ban lists that sing. Like, it's one of those cards where it's not good every format, but there are barely any games that you play that card and do not win. And when you can play that card and it's not the only card you've played that turn, it's even worse. Like,
exactly. No, I agree with you. And like the thing too is like with this deck, because if you once you play this deck a lot, you'll find that it's very easy to flood your board before you go into your Turn the Tide. And it's like, all right, now I got all these I got 3 20k dual attackers. I got a 20k double strike. I got a 15k crit on board. I got my 30k crit Turn the Tide on board. I got my Boo Unison on board. I got my leader on board. And then you're like, Turn the Tide. And what does your opponent do? In all seriousness, if they don't have that Jiren, it's GG for them. There's no way somebody survives 12 attacks coming at them. But it's not happening. It's insane. And then obviously the Goku SCR being able to untap everything is very high value. But the way that I do it is obviously you're gonna ramp once on your turn 2, then going into my turn 5, I'm at 6 energy. So either I play the Vegeta and ramp another 4 cards, or I pay 2 on my turn 5 to play the Zangia to ramp to 7, and then I pay 2 energy to play a Beer Z card just to have it on board. Why not? It's a good card. And then I'll pay 2, play the Goku SCR, untap 7, and then I'll just proceed to play Turn the Tide and just look at my opponent and be like, yeah, I think it's game, buddy. And then you just +1 after you do the effect, you +1 on Boo after that to draw 1, so at least you have 1 more card in hand while your opponent has nothing. And you're like, all right, go 30 crit, and if you have the Beto on board, you go 15 crit. And then let's say you did the play where you use the Vegeta super rare and you have extra energy, you could swing with the Gokua and go 15 crit. And then your opponent's like, oh, you just took me from 4 to 1. Yep. And swing with literally anything, and GG, well played. So
I don't disagree with any of this.
It's a very strong win condition, but even without it, you can still do a lot of stuff. But yeah, that's the list itself.
Whoa. So if you were looking for a place to buy any of these singles, like the new Dash Packs, or maybe you're looking for a Sun Gohan rare, or maybe you're looking for the Kaioken, I got something for you. Quick word from our sponsor, and get in there, get set up, get 15% off on anything you want to buy from the site with this code. But yeah, I'm gonna let the ad play. So let's talk about our sponsor, Mystic TCG, your one-stop shop for all of your trading card game needs. On their site, you can buy or pre-order starter decks, boxes, even cases, as long as you try to give it about 3 to 4 months ahead of time for the pre-orders, because sometimes the product's a little too hot to keep on the shelves. If you want singles, you can go over to their TCG Player website, where you'll find nothing but product and great reviews. And if you even want to sell your collections, just hop on over to their Facebook page and message them directly, and you get a price worked out for you, best bang for your buck. And you know what? While you're here, let me throw you a little something extra. If you want 5% off of any purchases made on the site, make sure you use the link in the description, or at checkout, use the code WORSTGEN. That'll be on the screen as well, and I hope you find something you like with Mystic TCG. And now, after that first part, we are going to jump into the tournament report, because it's not just enough to see the cards and hear what's good and what's not good. You want to hear how he climbed to the top. So I'm going to switch back to the full deck view, and then I'm going to have Veer go through his entire run of the event.
Thanks a lot, Chris. So the tournament itself only went 6 rounds. I think we only had 65 people sign up, which is kind of surprising because it was an uncut sheet for first place prize. That's a lot of money. But either way, I digress. The first round was a Bojack mirror match. I was facing one of my friends at the Hermit style server. Very nice guy. I had actually gone second against him, and so he was ahead in curve technically, but what happened was he tried to ramp, and I had used the desperate measures to prevent him from being able to get his ramp off, but I was like, get my ramp off, and then I was able to use Turn the Tide before he was, and that's what basically sealed the deal for me. Otherwise, I feel like it would have been his win. But, you know, I was able to win that one out. The next game that I played was against Android 16. I was facing a very, very good player, but basically, I personally am somebody who's a big fan of Android 16. I know the ins and out of that deck like the back of my hand, and unfortunately, he had not actually faced Bojack before, so I had to stop a lot of explaining, hey, does this, does that, but I was able to just completely outmaneuver his deck. Any play he wanted to do, I just prevented it. And something that I also do, and I'm kind of notorious for amongst my friends while playing Bojack, is because you don't draw on swing, I will literally play 2 to 3 turns straight of just not swinging my opponent and just like, hey, you play this leader that pushed yourself to 5 life, go ahead, take 5 damage for yourself. Do me a favor. Oh, you put yourself to 6? Do me a favor. I'm not swinging at you. Take your own life. I don't care. Oh, you go to 4? Thanks, buddy. To make my life easier. So it was one of those situations where I didn't swing at him for multiple turns straight. I was able to establish my unison. I was able to bottom deck any of his 16s that he played. And like on one of my swings, I went double strike at him, and he had no choice. At like 6 life, I was going double strike, and he had no choice but to awaken and put himself down to 5 life right away, and then try to out combo the double strike. And I'm like, right, this is just winning to me. So I just applied a lot of pressure in that aspect, and I was able to win out the match. And then my third round was against Blue Beerus against Geo. I actually lost this match. He came second, so you know I'm not complaining. And Geo's a very nice guy, very cool fella. But basically with this matchup, Bojack versus Beerus, I'll be honest, I'm still struggling trying to figure out how to win this going second, because it feels impossible to win going second. And that's kind of what happened. If you don't see your desperate measure, you kind of are just stuck in a really bad spot. I still tried to do what I could. I even used Turn the Tide against him. I tried to push for as much damage as I could. I got him down to 3 life, but at the end of the day, I had to pass, and he just said, activate main, win the game. And that's all there is to it, right? There's not much you can do there. I think the one advice I would say is if Beerus does swing you early, take the hits. Don't try to out combo those swings. Let him deal the damage to you so you have more cards in hand, because eventually he's not going to swing you anymore. He's just going to keep passing and playing the Vegetas till he gets to 16, and that's it. But for me, like, what was unfortunate was I didn't see my desperate measures, and it felt as if the game was mocking me, because for 2 turns straight where I did my activate battle, I would activate battle, then the top card of my deck was a desperate measures. Then the next turn I did it, it was the second desperate measures, and I'm like, cool, I see this stuff now like turn 5 instead of turn 1 or 2. But that was pretty funny. But either way, that was the round 3, so that was my only loss. And then round 4, I was playing against Crimson Goku. This matchup was actually pretty intense. I did win the dice roll, which was good, but the guy was playing a pretty aggro build. I think he was running something similar to Reed's list. But basically, he like turn 1 used the crit take a life Goku against me, and I took the hit. I'm like, whatever, I don't care, I'll take the crit swing. And then, you know, I ramped, all that other fun stuff happened, and then he played his Gohan SCR, and then, you know, he untapped some energy, and then he swung, and he went Champa and went 50k double crit, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm not out comboing 50k, that's just not happening. So I had to take 2 crit damage there. Then he went for another crit damage. He literally dealt 4 crit damage to me that game, and it was super duper close. But honestly, I'm not gonna lie, like, yeah, I outmaneuvered him at the very end. I was able to like do an activate battle. I had 1 open energy as well, and I got Boujack the Commando for his very last swing. I was able to survive. Then I used TT on my turn and just push for the win. But in all honesty, I have survived with only 1 life, and the only reason I lived was because he miscounted something. When you played the Gohan SCR, he bounced only 1 battle card on my board, and I only had 5 cards in hand. And he had 7, and he put himself down to 5. But the Gohan SCR only does the burn if your opponent has more cards than you, not same or more. So that 1 damage that I lived off of was because he just didn't calculate the fact that I would only go to 5 cards in hand, not 6. Or otherwise, I 100% would have lost that game, 1,000,000%.
That is rough. I bet he was burnt up over that.
Oh yeah. He I mean, I don't blame him, in all honesty. But I mean, I'm still gonna take the dub, but you know. And then round 4. No, sorry, that was round 4. Round 5, I was facing against Trunks Jita, and that one, I'll be honest, I personally have not lost to Trunks Jita once playing this deck. I've only faced it like maybe 5 or 6 times, but like I'm not too stressed out about that matchup. You just have to sequence very, very carefully, because obviously, like, you can use the Zangia to give your Bojack's barrier and all that, but they have the Vegeta that can like swing and KO it. So you need to like maneuver your plays in a way where you are clearing certain cards, you're sniping certain cards in a very specific order, and it's a matchup where you're going to use your Beerus Z card a lot. The one thing to be very careful of, though, when you're facing Trunks Vegeta, is if they're the players who mainboard T-Blow or not. Because if they're mainboarding Tyrannical Blow, and you try to ramp with your Zangia, they'll just come with the skills negated, and then what they'll also do is they'll negate skills, and they'll just like negate your Boo skills. And then you're like, oh, cool. I don't get to use Boo, and I don't get to do another ramp. Or if you try to play your Beerus, and they do that. So you need to like be very wary of Tyrannical Blow, and if Yellow has one open on your turn, it may be worth it just to bait out the riposte to be able to like ramp and play out a Beerus or do some other stuff. So it's a bit of a wild card there. You have to be very, very careful on the sequencing. But as long as you're careful and smart about how you sequence, you're fine. And the 17 Floodgate is hilarious against that matchup when you're facing, when it's on their turn, because you just do it and you just look at them. It's like, you're playing a deck that's extremely tight on energy. If I use my 17 negate right now on your very first swing, and I'm at like 6 life, you're not going to pay 3 to counter me, and I'm never going to use another counter attack for the rest of the turn. So you either counter now, or you better hope you have a T-Blow. And if they don't, then guess what? They're floodgated. Now they have to pay the tax, and now their value of like drawing 20 cards in a turn because it's Trunks Vegeta now becomes, sorry, you're only drawing 8 cards a turn. So you just have to. It still sounds, yeah.
I'm like, but I'm not that bad though.
Yeah, exactly. But no, in all seriousness, no, you just have to maneuver very carefully. The Beerus Z card is insanely broken in this matchup, and it's one of those ones where you need to keep killing their Vegeta 20Ks as much as possible. The moment you get rid of their 20K Vegetas, you really don't give a crap, honestly. Even if they play their Vegito Double Striker, the Double Strike Vegito has no barrier. Your Boo -1 will just get rid of it. Your Bojack, the Evil Doer, will get rid of it. You have a million tools to remove like all their beat sticks, and then if you're able to use Beerus to use the activate main to get rid of their Trunks, they have nothing really. They can't kill you, they can't hurt you, they can't pressure you. They have nothing, in all seriousness. But you have to just watch out for T-Blow. That's the biggest thing. If they don't have that, easy matchup. If they have that, you're gonna have to work for it. It's still winnable, but you gotta be careful. That's all. Just don't underestimate. That's the biggest thing, and respect them. And then the last matchup, and this was the most fun match I had the whole day, in all honesty, probably like the whole month. I was facing AOD. We were at table 2. This is obviously for the 3rd place spot, right? And I actually lost the dice roll, and that is really, really tough. If you win the dice roll against AOD, it's probably one of the easiest matchups in the universe. It's not even a match. You just absolutely dominate them. But if you're going second against AOD, it is one of the hardest matchups in the game, period. Other than like Green Cooler and like Beerus Ramp, I would say that is the hardest matchup, because they have access to the counterplay 13 very, very early in the game, and that'll prevent you from ramping, and it's going to rip it'll hit your Floodgate 17, rip another card out of your hand. So it hits a lot of your key cards. It can hit the Beerus Z card. Now you can't get rid of their Bobbity without with barely any effort. So what happened for me though is I got a little bit lucky in that he actually tapped out when he passed to me going to my turn 2. So I was able to get my Zangia off right away ramp, and I was able to stabilize it. But like it wasn't like, oh, I was able to like roll it. Like this was a tooth and nail game. Like we were like really like it could have been any man's game. I was at 1 life. Like when he passed me and went for my kill turn, I was literally at 1 life. He made me combo my whole hand. I had no cards left in hand, but the big things that saved me though was the fact that Boujack the Commando I could negate from energy, and I had the all too easy in my grave, and I was able to like stop multiple swings as hard negates with him, because he played 2 of the Sin triple strikers throughout the match. Like I got rid of one, he played another one. He swung with that one, I negated it. He played, and like it, like that negate package of like especially the all too easy and the Boujans 100% won me that matchup. Otherwise, I was totally done. And then the big thing though, and I feel like he tunnel visioned a bit here, was I had established a Beerus Z card to start clearing his Sin and all his other stuff, because he had played the Yellow Slug and all this other fun stuff, and I could even play Majin Buu. Even though I ramped, Majin Buu wasn't a safe play, so I didn't even play Buu Unison either, just because of how risky the whole matchup was. I had to use other cards instead to start clearing his board and like make it so I'm not taking as much damage while pressuring him at the same time. So ultimately, what happened was he'd exhausted all of his attacks trying to kill me. I out comboed everything. I had no cards left in hand, or I think maybe like one card left in hand. And then he had like the anti-D magic one drops. He had the green Vegeta anti-D magic one drop. He swung that at my Beerus that was in rest mode for 4K, and then he like comboed like 3 cards I think to 19K, and he left himself with only 2 cards left in hand. And I'm like, okay, this is really good. This is fantastic. So he literally put himself down to only 2 cards left in hand, and I'm like, you can kill the Beerus. I don't care at this point, right? And he had no blockers on board. Like all his he swung with his blocker as well, so everything on the board was tapped out except for the new Janemba card for AOD. And he only had 2 cards left in hand and 3 life. And I'm like, all right, I have to go for a Hail Mary here. I barely have a board. If this works, I win. If this doesn't work, I lose, right? And all I did was I looked at him. Well, obviously, on webcam, so I looked at his board, I guess. But I paid 5. I played the Vegito, and I'm like, I'm swinging at you. You got a token negate? He's like, no token negates, buddy. I'm like, all right. Activate battle, combo to 40, combo the card in my hand, 45k triple strike. Can you beat it? Nope. GG, buddy.
Destroyed. Like, destroyed.
But like, bro, and like the scary part, his next card in deck was the token negate.
Sometimes. Sometimes. Yeah, it was close, but it was super fun match. That was a great match. I recorded the VOD just so I could like look back, like, oh my, really, that was a great match I had against the guy, and he's a very great player. Like, no, like everyone I played was fantastic, but like, holy smokes, our match we had, that was for the books. I'm not gonna lie to you, that was a really good match. No, that sounds awesome. Like, and it's cool. Like when you play a card game, you'll find like so many times. Like, I'm trying to figure out the best way to say this. It is so refreshing to get back to those matches that you had more when the game was new, where you're just like, oh my gosh, like win or lose, that was just a crazy game.
Exactly, I agree. And then and I'm like, oh god, I got to experience that again. Yes, and it's for the final match too. It's like, yes, that's the perfect way to end the day.
100%.
Yeah. But yeah, that was my matches. That's the whole tournament there for me personally. And of course, you know, Gio, who beat me, he came second. Ritzy came first. So it was a good day either way. My other teammate Raymond, I think he came 5th, I think. And Faisal, his younger brother, actually came 7th, playing yellow baby starter aggro. So I was pretty happy overall. Like a lot of people I know and a lot of my friends did pretty good in the event. So I'm like, you know what? I'm pretty happy for everybody. You all did a great job. It's a great day.
I definitely feel that. No, it sounds like you had a great time, dude. So yeah, there you guys have it. Bojack out here making waves in another Zenkai Cup, piloted by a great player. You guys have already seen him on the channel before, and if you go to enough online events and even in-person events, online events more because he's in Canada, so those are the ones he can get to, you'll see, like, his name is generally up in the top cut when he plays, and so it's always good to see players that put in the time and the effort constantly getting rewarded for their time and effort. But it was just really cool to see the Zenkai cards going brazy. This dash pack has been some of the best support I think the game has seen in quite some time. And yeah, I just want to thank you for hopping on the channel, bro.
Thank you so much for having me here, honestly. And I want to give you a huge shout out. You always make fantastic videos. Dragon Ball, One Piece, every other card game. You make great content, and I really appreciate being here. Thank you, man.
Thank you. And hopefully Dragon Ball... It sucks because Dragon Ball's in its off season and One Piece is starting up, so I've definitely been kind of on one content a lot more than the other, but I cannot wait for us to get this next set going. get the regional season back in place. I don't know what I'm playing, but I'm starting to see these Universe 7 red cards pop up. And so my personal itch is coming back. I definitely got to see what we're doing for this set. But yeah, I will be talking to you. I'm going to be less of a hermit when it comes to the Dragon Ball community soon enough. But yeah, once again, congratulations for the 3rd place finish. And yeah, is there anything else you wanted to say?
Yeah, again, thank you, and obviously just want to, shout out to Game 3, of course. Shout out to TCG Metals. Appreciate everybody's support from the team, and also, all my friends who aren't on the team as well. Like, thank you, everybody, and whoever was able to put up with my aggressive personality and my my aggressive testing. I thank everybody, honestly, and shout out to all my opponents. You were all fantastic.
Awesome, and I'll see you guys in the next installment later.